Most free-to-play games build cities that look alive, but fall apart the moment you stop moving. Kaifeng in Where Winds Meet is the rare exception that actually holds up. When I played Wuthering Waves and Honkai Star Rail, there was always something that bothered me, yet I couldn't really tell what it was. And it wasn't until I reached the city of Kaifeng that I realized the devs actually built an immersive city that was fun to explore. When I started playing Where Winds Meet, I didn't expect to become completely captivated by the world the game had to offer. The first region, Shinku, was an absolute treat. It stood out despite being relatively small. Its rural setting fits perfectly the start of a young wanderer's journey. From the moment you open your eyes and begin your journey into the Jianghu, the game welcomes you with open landscapes, scattered settlements, and landmarks meant to be admired from afar. Each settlement is separated by long stretches of land to give you space to breathe and take in the scenery. There's nothing rushing you, and nothing to overwhelm you. And that area ended up setting the bar for me. It defined exactly what I thought the developers would deliver next. Shinku was, after all, the region that introduced me to this version of ancient China, and I expected future regions to follow the same pattern. Nothing too bold or dense, just enough to remain cozy and inviting. But those expectations are exactly what Kaifeng broke. Once you arrive in the Kaifeng region, it immediately feels more man-made. Unlike the untamed wilderness of Shinku that was perfect for those seeking exile, Kaifeng is more flat and agricultural. It traded that mystical green peculiar to Shinku for the golden hue of human activity. At that point, I wasn't even aware there was gonna be a city to explore, and the only hint I had were the gigantic walls I could see in the distance. Even after traveling for miles, I could still see their silhouette in the distance, and it wasn't until I actually reached the front gate that I understood why it was designed that way. When you go through it for the first time, a cutscene plays. You see merchants shouting, locals eating at crowded tables, travelers going in and out, people forming crowds. The streets are alive and busy. To be fair, I thought the cutscene was exaggerating. Games do that all the time. The devs show you what the new city is supposed to look like, but it's never really what you get. Instead, they give you a smaller and more practical version, and all the hype turns into disappointment. But it wasn't the case here. Once I was finally free to roam the city and got the map, I realized how big and dense Kaifeng really was. From the various districts filled with shops, houses and restaurants, to an entire underground market with its own unique identity below the city. Kaifeng blew my expectations away. And after spending some time in the city, it suddenly hit me. We never actually see the full city in a cutscene. Even the zoomed out shots only reveal fragments of it. It was intimidating in a way, but I liked it because for once, it felt like visiting a real place. And real cities are full of people. Kaifeng is no different. When they designed it, the devs took inspiration from a famous painting named Along the River During the Qingming Festival, created by the artist Zhang Ziduan around the early 12th century. They wanted to recreate the painting's sense of a crowded working city, and to do so, they filled the streets with thousands of NPCs from different backgrounds and various positions, from high-ranking officials to street vendors and beggars. But instead of making them simply exist in the background, the devs decided to add a touch of realism and authenticity. The NPCs you meet in Kaifeng will not just stand frozen in place until the end of times, waiting for you to acknowledge their existence for their 2 lines of dialogue. You can see them selling traditional trinkets from stalls, or carrying goods, or even sleeping on the ground and being lazy bums. They have their own lives and routines that don't revolve around you. Even better, they react to their surroundings. Some places get livelier during the day, especially in the afternoon, while others come alive when the sun goes down and the market closes down. For example, if you take a night stroll around Velvet Shade, you'll see people gathering around the lake to watch the fireworks. If it rains, fewer pedestrians will roam the streets. If you're in the mood to start a conversation, many will have small stories and personal concerns, some interesting and some mundane. But that's the beauty of it. With thousands of NPCs in the city, they create a wall of sound and movement that makes the capital feel like a genuine metropolis. Kaifeng has a social etiquette that influences how the city reacts to your antics. If you run at full speed through the crowd, they'll be shocked or annoyed at most, but try bumping into a guard and he'll attack you right away. If that's not abuse of power, I don't know what is. Anyway, what the devs accomplished with Kaifeng is what I think many free-to-play games fail to do: bring a city to life. You can have the most beautiful city imaginable, but if nobody truly lives in it, you might as well call it a glorified amusement park. And if the population is a big factor in making a city feel alive, the efforts put into the city itself are just as important. I doubt anyone wants to spend an entire chapter running around a cardboard city. While Kaifeng doesn't have the depth of Kamurocho in Like a Dragon, or the size of Night City in Cyberpunk 2077, the city stands out by allowing players to enter almost every building. The devs took the time to model most interiors and fill them with NPCs to make the city feel like a physical place where you can walk into a bathhouse, a stranger's house, or one of the many shops and restaurants without a loading screen. I actually spent an absurd amount of time going into every building just to see what each of them looked like. And the interior isn't even the best part. Where I think Kaifeng truly shines is the freedom of movement it gives you as a player. While you can ride a horse or walk all the way from one gate to another, Kaifeng is designed for lightness skills. You can run on water, glide from rooftop to rooftop, and fly across the city. I know some people got tired of using the lightness skill to fly because even if it looks really cool at first, it just becomes redundant when you want to get somewhere quickly. But that's not my case. I've always liked this ability because it feels genuinely unique to where winds meet. Being able to use it in the city shows that while Kaifeng may not beat its bigger competitors in terms of sheer size, it's still large enough to let you use everything in your arsenal to move around. And this mobility turns what could have been a simple walking simulator inside a historical tapestry into a full playground for players to enjoy. And as you make full use of this mobility, you get to discover the various districts. Rather than being a homogeneous city, each district has its own identity. You get Prosperity Haven and the Imperial Artisan Court that represent the high society with its stability and luxury. The Fairgrounds and Velvet Shade that attract travelers and socialites thanks to its vibrant atmosphere, street performers, night markets and gambling dens. The Furnace area with its high security and oppressed workers and prisoners. The Ghostlight Market and Unbound Cavern where all shady deals happen, and the Forsaken Quarter where the refugees and the poor live. Kaifeng doesn't shy away from using social activity and traditional aesthetics to give each district its own identity. Artisans spend their time in the workshop quarters, scholars near the temples and criminals in the underground market. And while each district has its own little world, it is by understanding how they interact with each other that you can better understand the city itself and appreciate it for what it really is. Kaifeng has set a new bar for city immersion in free-to-play games, and possibly even for games in general. While it doesn't have the narrative depth of The Witcher 3 or the technical polish of a Rockstar title, it's exactly the kind of city future games and patches should take inspiration from. Thanks for watching and leave a like if you enjoyed the video.